All right, next, dairy. Now, we all grew up with this idea that milk's a health food and naturally reluctant to take it out of our children's diets. Now, I remember initially I was really worried about my son not getting enough nutrients if we removed dairy from his diet. But after doing a ton of research, the choice was obvious. And there's a number of reasons for that. Number one, it's really hard to digest. Mammals haven't evolved to drink milk past weaning. So past the page of one, most people don't make enough lactose, which is just the enzyme that helps digest milk sugar. Two, it causes inflammation. Three, it makes mucus thicker and harder to drain, which leads to things like sinus and ear infections. And casein, which we talked about a little bit earlier, which is that milk protein, turns into opiates in the brain, functions like morphine, and causes severe neurological problems. Also, dairy is pumped with hormones and antibiotics, and that's just done to increase production. But don't worry, the company that makes these hormones, Monsanto, they say it's perfectly safe, so we take them at our word for it. Now, also, it's clinically proven to increase diabetes risk, which there's over 90 clinical studies that show the more dairy you consume, higher risk of diabetes. And because millions of dollars in advertising and celebrities wearing the sexy milk mustaches, like I totally get why parents think it's their duty to feed their children as much cow's milk as possible. But the bottom line is that dairy is harmful to our children and should be eliminated from their diet. And candidly, yours too. You cannot be a healthy, functioning adult thinking that you can, be consuming large amounts of milk. It just doesn't work. Now, we'll be getting into milk alternatives next week as we explore food choices and alternatives and things like that. But for now, just know, no bueno. And there's one caveat to this, which I want to mention now. We'll be getting into it, throughout the course. But grass-fed butter is okay. And the reason why is that it has very little milk sugar and milk protein in it. All right, the last part of the remove protocol, pesticides. Now, bottom line, pesticides are designed to kill, and it's probably best to stay away from them. That's their job. They are designed to kill. Now, you've probably heard terms like organic and GMO. So first, let's just dive in quick and understand what those words mean. GMO, hot buzzword now, it stands for genetically modified organism. And they are simply food that was designed not to die when they are sprayed with poison. Okay, and the main poison that's sprayed on everything is a chemical called Roundup and the active ingredient glyphosate. You're going to hear that word quite a bit. We talk about it. We talked about it last week. And now they can be modified in other ways as well, but primarily when you're talking about GMOs, it's a crop that's designed not to die when you spray it with poison. Now, organic means that it's free of toxic pesticides, herbicides, chemical fertilizers, sewage sludge. Yeah, they use sewage sludge as fertilizer, artificial hormones, antibiotics, and GMOs. So when you select organic, you're not getting GMOs and you're removing the sewage sludge and all the other stuff from it. So it's a really good thing. So why is it so bad? Now, Monsanto, the company that creates the majority of the pesticides, says it's awesome and it won't hurt you at all. There's others that disagree. The World Health Organization classified glyphosate as carcinogenic to humans. The state of California did as well. They also found that glyphosate causes mutations in DNA. It increases oxidative stress, which that does is it just triggers inflammation and speeds up aging. Fun. Glyphosate causes gut permeability, which we talked about earlier, and its Roundup is directly toxic to mitochondria. And what that is that's the cellular energy. So the more energy our cells have and our kids' cells have, they can fight off things and get into growth mode. But if we continue to poison them with pesticides, then they don't have the cellular energy to do what they need to do to grow. And there are a ton of other issues with this. I'm not going to go that deep into it. Just know that it affects our children's bodies a ton. It affects our bodies. It's really bad stuff. we're not going to be able to get rid of glyphosate and all these pesticides completely. Why? Because it's water soluble. So it's in our groundwater, it's in our rain. I mean, it's everywhere. So there's some supplements that we can take to help minimize some of the damage, but it's been shown that organic food, because it can't be sprayed on it, and people that eat the organic diet have significantly lower levels of glyphosate residue in their system, okay? So more than 70% of the processed food in your local supermarket contain genetically modified ingredients and pesticides. That percentage is probably a little bit low just because there's no labels that are required to inform consumers about the presence of GMOs. But anyway, pesticides, no